So folks, Malcolm and Marie, a potential awards contender starring Zendaya and John David Washington, dropped yesterday on Netflix, and let's talk about it. By the way, this review will have some spoilers, so if you haven't seen it and you're interested in my thoughts, I would encourage you to go watch it yourself and then come back, leave your thoughts down in the comments, subscribe, why don't you do that for me, and let me get right into it. So off the bat, the best thing about this movie is the incredible acting coming from both, Zendaya and John David Washington. They both bring their A game in every scene that they're in, and, a movie starring only two characters in one place, kind of has to be carried by its acting and, script, which we'll get to later. But they're both excellent. They really are. The film, shot in black and white, is also very, very good looking. The cinematography in plenty of scenes is excellent. And, they're just shots that look like absolute masterful paintings. The film also has some very visionary directing choices from director Sam Levinson, where you have moments like, this one-take shot in the beginning where you stay on one character for an extended period of time before moving on to the other. It's creative, it's engaging, it's great. There are also some very questionable directing choices in the film, like, some jarring ones, and one that's kind of struck me, for, this movie isn't exactly kid-friendly, but there are many sex scenes in the movie, and I believe the first one, there's a conversation overlaying it about, the Lego movie. What would happen if you direct the Lego movie? Which was a funny joke they were tying back to from earlier in the film. But, it doesn't work. It's odd. The tones don't match, right? And I'm sure, obviously, probably Levinson's decision. He knew that going in, when he was filming that scene, when he was writing it. But it just doesn't work. In case you didn't know it, this film is just basically a bunch of arguments and yelling. That's obviously an oversimplification, but the arguments and yelling in this film do hit very hard. Again, actors' performance, dialogue, but you really feel some of these insults. They cut deep. You don't know these characters. Their past get unraveled as you go through the film, but some harsh things are said in this movie. And, the way they're said, you start to predict how these characters are going to say certain things, what they're going to say, just because you learn more and more about them. And, they never fail to surprise you with their brutality and their disses. I think it's also safe to say that Sam Levinson really likes the F word. If you see this film, you'll know what I'm talking about. Maybe you set a record or something, because, in some minutes, there's more than 60. There's got to be in at least a couple minutes in the film. It's everywhere. Not a complaint, just something I thought was funny. This film is obviously a very personal film because, if you're watching this review, you probably know it's about a couple arguing, fighting in a night. And, these, as I said earlier, the disses, the brutality of it, each punch feels like it's hitting you. These characters are people with, very legitimate character flaws. And, that's obvious. We perceive that pretty easily. But more than that, they also have moments of empathy. So you go from hating, obviously, but you go from hating a character in one scene because he Malcolm probably gets, most of those. But they do something despicable, right? Something that's just, what human would do something like that, right? It's just really messed up. And then the other, they, become more vulnerable. You learn more about them, you get to know them, and you're like, okay, maybe that was forgivable. And then it keeps happening, right? And it's just an interesting character study into both of these fictional characters. So the film has gotten into a bit of controversy about, its critique of critics. Mostly from critics, which is a bit funny, ironic. I don't need to point that out. Many have done it before me. But the film has a lot to say about critics versus directors, and it's very clear that comes from Sam Levinson himself, who's received various criticisms. Directing, as I'm sure any artist has, It's part of the business. But again, the critics who take this so seriously, I'm no critic myself. I have like 5 reviews, but you're not all that. You got to dial it back. And directors as well. There's just too much ego in the business. Calm down, everyone. The film plays out very much like a play. As I said earlier, very dialogue heavy, right? The script is a huge part of it. The acting is an even bigger part of it. And so it's set just between these 2 characters. We never see another character. It's set in this one location as, their house. But even within the house, it's typically only set in a handful of locations. Their bedroom, the backyard, their kitchen slash, little living room. And it's very much like a play. And I'm wondering if it would have been better as a play. Maybe, probably. But, we got it as a movie. So that's what I'm judging it based on. Again, if you've seen the film, you know what I'm talking about. But I'm not sure the central idea of having a couple arguing and the fact that they do it multiple times throughout the film, right? You have argument, reconciliation, argument, reconciliation. And it keeps happening and happening at least 4 times I counted. I'm not sure it justifies the runtime that it has, which is like 1:50 or something like that. Even that feels too long for a movie with this as its premise. It feels like we repeat the same story beats. By a certain point, we have a grasp of the characters and, what they're trying to accomplish. And I think that many arguments is just too much. It doesn't work. Now, this is definitely a spoiler, but the undisputed best moment of the film is, it all comes to a head in this moment, is when Marie, Zendaya's character, grabs a knife. So this whole night they've been arguing. She's gotten the most upset she had in the whole night just, recently. She grabs a knife, sits down on the floor with Malcolm, John David Washington's character, and she goes into this monologue about, what she's done wrong to Malcolm, and you're really worried for her because they discuss her suicidal tendencies in the past. They discuss, their relationship together. So you're wondering if she will either hurt Malcolm or herself. And then it is all revealed that entire moment she was acting, not Zendaya, obviously, because she's acting the whole movie, but Marie. And it's just, again, I would hope that you had watched the scene before that, because that was just a gasp, right? Like, it was incredible acting in that moment. Subversion of expectations. And that was, a great scene. I don't know how else to put it. One of the best scenes of 2021 so far. Not a very high bar, 4 movies, but great scene. Unfortunately, though, most of the film does not reach the heights of that scene. Most of it is good, for sure. Some of it's middling. It does get a little boring just because, again, it's that play style. One location, 2 characters, dialogue heavy the whole time. But it is a solid film, to be sure. Even though it is a solid film, nothing about it is particularly special over other couple fighting films or just other films in general. I don't know what, this film is probably not something I will return to. It was good. It's solid. It's maybe worth a watch if it's your kind of movie. With that said, Malcolm and Marie gets a B from me, a good B, by the way. I'd say it's bordering between A and B just because it is really good, but never reaches the heights of, other movies, except for that one scene that I addressed. It goes above the little things on my tier list, and there's a large gap between those two. I just want you to know. So there's my thoughts on Malcolm and Marie. If you watched it, again, let me know what you thought in the comments down below. Next week, I will be back with a Judas and the Black Messiah review. And that one's getting a lot of praise. Hopefully I like it. If you watch it, hopefully you like it, and you come back and watch my review. All right? Bye.